In this video, we're going to go through how to simplify radicals, and we will be using this throughout the whole unit when we need to simplify any answer that has a radical in it. So first off, when we simplify radicals, you are going to be asked sometimes for an exact answer and an estimated or non-exact answer. So the exact answer is when you are going to leave it in radical form. The non-exact answer is when you will leave it in decimal form. When we're simplifying, we need to break down the number by finding all the factors and identify any perfect squares. So on your list of perfect squares you had to memorize, this is where this is going to come in and be an advantage for you because you'll pick out those numbers a little bit faster than those that don't know their perfect squares. We need to take the square root of those perfect squares, and that number will be on the outside then of the radical. If there are any factors that are not perfect squares, you're going to multiply them back together underneath the radical. The way that I explain it is with each of your numbers, you want to think of any two factors that will multiply to give you 80. So it doesn't have to be perfect square, but it could be. So I know that 80 gives me, if I multiply 8 times 10, that gives me 80. So with my 8, I can break that down even more. So 8 gives me 2 and 4. 2 is done, but 4 I can break down as a 2 and a 2. On a 10, I can 2 give us 2 times 5 gives us a 10. Now these are the ends of my branches, and I want to look for any pairs that I have that are the same number. So I've got a pair of 2s, I have another pair of 2s, but I have this 5 that's left over that is not a pair. And notice the 8, the 10, and the 4 have already broken off into different branches, so those are no longer there. My 2 from right here needs to come on the outside. I have another pair of 2s that'll be on the outside, and I'm going to multiply those together. On the inside is where my 5 will end up. So if I simplify this, I would get a 4 square root 5. Now that's the exact answer. For the decimal answer, we need to type this into our calculator. So we type in 4 square root 5, and my decimal answer would be 8.944. So on each of these, we're going to write the non-exact and the exact answer. Number 2, we have a number on the outside, but we don't have to worry about that until we get to the very, very last steps. So first off, we got to break this off. So I know I have 7 and 100. Now remember, 100 is a perfect square, so it makes it a little bit faster here because when I break it down to 10 times 10, even though it breaks down even further, I already have a pair, so I'm going to stop. And I know that my 10 has to go on the outside. Inside is this leftover 7. But we had this 3 on the outside to begin with, so that needs to be multiplied by the 10 that is joining it. So now we've got a 30 times a square root of 7. And if I type that into my calculator for the decimal answer, I get 79.373, where that's the non-exact or estimated answer versus 30 square root 7 is the exact answer. Now the reason that I want you to find the non-exact and the exact is if you type in the original problem, you will get the same decimal answer as you will right here. So that's a way to check to see if you actually found your answer correctly, is if you type in the decimal answer, find the decimal answer of the original, type your decimal answer in of your answer you got, and they should be the exact same answer because we are just simplifying the radical. We are not changing the number. All right, so on the next one, I want you to break down the 196 and tell me what are your ends of the branches going to be. What you should have noticed is 196 is a perfect square, which is 14 times 14. So since we already have a pair, we don't have to go any further. So all we have is a pair, and we can pull that on the outside. So we get a 14 on the outside. We have a -6 we can carry down, and there's nothing left on the inside. So all I have is -6 times 14, and when we multiply that together, we get a -84. So that would be both the estimated and the exact answer, since there is no radical answer. So on these next couple, I'm just going to leave you with the answer of what it should be, so that you can go back and check on your own what the answers are going to be. So you can check to see or just use it as practice for your own. So there's the 3 different answers for the 3 different questions on 4, 5, and 6. Again, you can use that to practice. You should get the final answers that I've got on there, but the next ones we're going to do together because you're going to see something different in the answers. So number 7, when we break that down, I'm going to use an 11 and let's see, a 33 gives me 363. And with the 33, I get 11 again times 3. So one thing I wanted to show you is that the pairs don't necessarily have to be from the same ends of the branches. So here I got a pair of 11s. That'll go outside. My 6 will join it on the outside. And then inside I have this 3 that's left over. So I get a 66 square root 3. And now I want you to fill in what is the estimated answer going to be. Once you've typed that in your calculator, you should get 114.315. All right, so for the next one, I want you to do this one now all on your own, all the way down to the end. All right, we see it's 405, so one number we know is going to be in there is going to be a 5. So if I divide that, I get an 81. I know 81 is a perfect square, so I've got a pair of 9. So once I get a pair, remember, you do not need to keep on going. So my 9 will go outside. The 3 that's already there joins it. But then left over inside is going to be this 5. So we get 3 times 9 is a 27, and then times our square root of 5. Decimal answer then you should have gotten was 60.374. For the very last question, there was a reason I chose this one, and that was because if we split it up into 36 and 10, I know 36 is a perfect square, so 6 and 6 gives me a pair, so I can pull that outside. 10, though, I get a 2 and a 5, so those are left over inside because they do not have a pair. So if you have more than one number left over inside, you just need to multiply them back together, so it would become a 10 again. There was nothing out on the outside with the 6, so it stays a 6. So I get 6 square root 10. My decimal answer then ends up being 18.974.